What's going on, everyone? It is Will with Very Great Software, and if you guys are new to the channel, please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so that you get notified every single time I upload a video. Go ahead and like the video or dislike the video, comment on the video, do whatever you want with the video. Like I say that in every video, just do whatever you want, but please consider subscribing. It helped me out tremendously. But now I'm done with that because I just need to say it. We're going to be going on with Dockerizing our website here. So in order for us to actually Dockerize our website, what we need to do is we need to make a new file here. I'm going to be creating it in our root folder, and that needs to be a capital D and say Docker file. Now, if you guys do not have it already, you need to download Docker Desktop. You guys aren't seeing this because I switched from doing my full screen to just only showing the windows that are open, so my code editor and my browser. But right now I am actually starting up Docker Desktop, and Docker Desktop says that it's running. The way that Docker works is you can kind of think as you can think of this Docker file as a class. Now, like when you write classes in your code, when you go to run them, during runtime, those classes then become objects, right? You have like the class object in object-oriented programming, right? So this is kind of the same concept. So your Docker file is going to be how you define a class, and then when you go to use your Docker file to create a Docker container, that Docker container is an instance of your Docker file. So Docker image is the class, Docker container is the object. So object spans from the class. So the first thing that we're going to be doing, and this is another concept from Docker, is every single Docker statement that you put in your Docker file, you're adding what's called a layer. And you can, this isn't like the exact thing, the exact what would you call it, the equivalent of it, but you can think of each Docker statement as kind of like a point in time in your Git history, right? So in your Git history, you have a history of commits. It's kind of the same thing where with each Docker statement you are creating a layer, and that layer has a hash just like a commit message has one. And yeah, so then whenever you go to recompile your image, if the layer hasn't changed, then it just saves that additional amount of time that it needs to actually create the image and push it up to where we need to be. So the first layer that we need to do is we need to start from somewhere. So that somewhere is a base image. And what we're going to be having here is we're going to be doing from and then node 13. So node 13 is the latest node version that we have available to us in Docker. And so this is going to be our base image. So basically this is another Docker image. We're pulling this in, whatever it has we want. We want node because we wrote our app in Node.js. And then after that, what I typically do is I do my environment variables. And you can also, I think there's like author too, I believe. No, I can't remember what it is, but there's like one where you can say who the developer is and who created it and everything. We're not going to do that, but we can if we want to have environment variables here. And what we are going to need, we are going to need one. We are going to need one, and the only one that we need is port. Let's set this to just 8080. So basically this means we're going to be hosting this on port 8080 on our local machine. And the reason why we need port here is because when we go to deploy this to Heroku, Heroku is actually going to be passing in a port environment variable to our Docker container, and we need to expose that port. So the reason why we have this port here is because we need to use it when we go to create our server, which is what we did in our server.js. You can see here at the very top we said process.environment.port. This port is this port right here. So if it's not defined from Heroku, by default it's going to be 8080. So and then if it's not passed in at all, we default that to 3000. This is never going to happen. This will only happen when we just go to do like node, when we do like the npm run the npm run start, dev start, or start, anything like that. And then when we go to Dockerize this thing, and then it's going to be running on port 8080. Actually, that's just let's change it to 3000 just to, so we don't have to change our endpoint when we go to hit it in the browser. Next up after that is what I like to do is I like to define my work directory. So the work directory, this kind of acts like a CD. So the following commands, if we ever have any relative paths, that relative path is going to be relative to the work directory. All right, next thing we need to do is we actually need to copy all of our files into the Docker image. So in order to do that, I'm just going to explicitly copy just the files and folders that we need. I know there's a better command, or you can just do like a star or like a dot for everything, but I'm just going to do each folder that we need. So we don't need Visual VS Code here, but we do need the views. We do not need, I repeat, we do not need node modules. We don't need node modules because that is going to be what's happening when we go to actually build our app. So for what we're going to copy here, we need to copy over our views folder. So let's copy our views folder over. And then after that copy, then we will now copy. Here I'll actually do a star.json because we do need both the package.json and the package lock.json. We do not need the Docker file to be copied over. We do need the server.js. So I will copy that as well. So I'll just, here I'll just do star.js. Oops, I need to have a dot here. And the reason I'm doing this is because if I ever need to create any more routes, or if I just need to, span my code across multiple files, I can just create another JavaScript file. I don't need to go ahead and change the Docker image again. All right, so now that we've copied over all of our files that we need, the next thing that we need to do is if we actually try to go and run this, it's not going to run because we don't have any of our dependencies installed. So what we need to do is we just need to say run npm install. So the last thing that we need to do is we actually need to tell Docker to actually run the npm command. So we just need to do cmd square bracket and then double quotes npm, and then I believe we can do a run and then start. All right, so let's see if this works. Yep, I want to terminate that. And then now to actually build our Docker image, we just need to run docker build. And then to actually tag, so if we want to give our image a name that we want to be using throughout everything to create a Docker container, we do a -t to tag it. So let's tag it. I'm just going to take a VGS for Very Great Software. And then we do a dot for the current directory. So this dot here is the directory wherever you put your Docker file. So that's the directory it's going to look at. And so, like I said, this is going to be working in layers. So right now it is pulling all the information from that node 13 base image and downloading those layers. All right, so that took forever. What I did have to do is add 2 forward slashes, one here and one here. Adding those because it gave me a little warning about that, and then kind of stopped abruptly. And then upon completing, it told me a security warning that I'm building a Docker image for my Windows against a non-Windows Docker host. All files and directories added to build context will have these kind of permissions. It is recommended to double check and reset permissions for sensitive files and directories. Now, this means that anyone can read and execute the files that we have sent over to our Docker image, and only certain specific set of users can read and execute that as well. And then root can read, write, and execute those files. This should be sufficient. Plus, right now we don't really have any files that, if someone were to get into our Docker container and they were to take and they were to read any of these and do whatever with them, they're not really going to get away with much unless we have something like a hard-coded API key, which you shouldn't be doing anyways. So yeah, we're fine. No one's going to steal any information. We're good. All right, so now we are going to actually run our Docker image to a Docker container. So Docker container being the object, remember, and then the image being the class. So we're going to instantiate an object here. So Docker run, and then VGS, so that whatever you tagged, whatever you did after the -t, whatever you tagged your image with, I said VGS. And then what we need to do is specify the port. I think you have to do it before VGS, so we're going to do -p. So what this is we're telling Docker, hey, on the internal port that we have here running inside of the container, like what we have set here, this number or whatever you pass in as the port environment variable needs to be this number on the right here. And we're saying, hey, take this port and expose that outside of the Docker sphere, outside into whoever wants to hit it on this port. Because what Docker is basically just a virtual machine. And when you run something inside of a virtual machine, you can't really hit it from your host, right? You need to have some sort of bridge or connection between the two to run traffic into Docker. Because Docker is an isolated environment. If you want anything to hit inside of it, you need to expose a port. So we're exposing this port 3000. That's the internal port 3000. So, all right, so now that we have our Docker container running, we can now try to hit it from our local host at 3000. All right, I got it to work, as you can see here, and what I needed to change was I needed to have, it was views and then dot before. I needed to change that to views because it was unloading all of the any file that was in this folder into this directory. So it was unloading them at the root directory that we wanted to be at, but we really wanted everything to be inside of a folder called views. So after changing that, we are now able to actually load up our website here, and you can see we have everything. The image is working. If we click on here, it opens up our YouTube channel. Click on projects. We don't have projects set up yet. I'm going to be doing that in the future, but not in a video. Unless you guys want to see that, I guess I could do that. Courses, there's my course. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, Dockerizing a website. Yeah, so in the next video, we are going to actually be uploading it to Heroku and making sure anyone, even your mom, can see it. Like I said in the beginning of the video, if you guys please could subscribe to the channel, hit the like button if you like this video. If you didn't like it, dislike it, and then leave a comment below telling me how I could do better. I would greatly appreciate that, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.